Next item on the agenda is Resolution 2021-0905, introduced by Commissioner DeWitt.
Honorable Rick Brewer, Chairman, and members of the Hawkins County Board of Commissioners in regular session met the 27th day of September 2021. Resolution to reference utilizing state COVID relief grant funding for upgraded county radio system used by emergency personnel. Whereas in March 2021, an ad hoc committee was appointed to determine and make recommendations on the appropriate expenditures of both the state local government recovery and rebuilding direct appropriation grant, LGRRDA, and Federal American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, COVID stimulus funding, and whereas that ad hoc committee at its meeting on Thursday, September 9th, 2021, passed a motion to forward on to the full commission a proposal involving expenditure of a portion of the unrestricted state LGRRDA funding, and whereas such expenditure would go toward furthering clear communications among emergency agencies and personnel in the county, thereby potentially saving lives of such personnel and county citizens experiencing emergencies requiring efficient response utilizing a radio system that more effectively covers the county. And whereas the county EMA director has produced an implementation plan for the upgrade of our current insufficient county radio system, and that plan was started with funding utilizing both general fund and community block development grant of $250,000, totaling $425,000 already allocated. And whereas additional funding is required to upgrade the initial analog system to a digital system, such system being the one recommended by studies of best signal propagation, which increases the coverage across the county. Now therefore be it resolved that the full commission approves utilizing up to, but no more than, $509,858 of the unrestricted state LGRRDA funding received by the county for equipment needed to complete the first phase of an upgrade to digital mobile radio, DMR technology, provided that one, the commission can be assured that the money is spent only on the most efficient bid obtained from the necessary equipment that meets the requirements to complete the job in a manner that will produce a quality yet cost-effective system. Two, requests for bids will be sent out through the mayor's office. The mayor and his staff will select the vendor. Three, the commission be informed on a monthly basis at each of the meetings of the progress of the project and given details of the work completed on the project during the previous month. And four, upon completion of the project, the full commission be provided with a detailed list of expenditures of the funds. Therefore, further resolved that the county mayor be given the authorization to sign any necessary documents regarding expenditure of the LGRRDA funds and be allowed to direct the actual disbursement of such funds through the county finance director, utilizing the necessary purchase orders and documentation. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Motion by Commissioner DeWitt, second by Commissioner Roach. Mr. Harrell is the first on the board.
Yeah, where's Jamie at? I need some clarification on our stuff here. This sheet you give out,
Kurt. Yes.
this first phase and second phase.
Yes.
Notice on the first phase you got EMA, Sheriff's Department, City Police, EMS, both rescue squads.
Correct.
So is the fire department getting anything on the first phase?
In this initial first phase proposal, the reason it's split where it's split is in the second column over it lists agencies that are going to be DMR. In the second column over, which begins out with EMA is DMR, 911 DMR, Sheriff's Office DMR, and also the Police Department's EMS and Rescue Squad. The reason it's split where it's split is the fire department will be staying completely analog. That's just where the breakdown came to get this within budget. The first phase, reach out to the vendor, just get a rough quote, just get a bid project. Base stations are $2,496.63. Mobiles, $898.54. Portables, $771.38. Again, that's a rough estimate. This will be a bid project that takes phase one to $509,402.12. If this was the exact equipment put in a bid proposal. Phase two, as it's on this paper, is $276,282.71.
So back to my question, is the fire department getting anything in the first phase?
As this is projected, not in the first phase, so
They're not getting that
not as it is on this paper. And the fire department has as much need as anyone else does, but if we're gonna deploy this DMR product, obviously everyone's gonna be on DMR's gotta have a DMR radio.
So when's second stage taking place?
As far as I'm concerned, whenever it's funded, I mean, I'm fine with doing it now, or as long as we have to wait to get funded. I think through ad hoc, they're looking at, somebody may not have the stipulations on it, but some other doesn't maybe fund that second stage if the ones from ad hoc wants to speak on that.
So with everybody being on DMR, so if something happens, how will the firefighters communicate to everybody else? I guess like when they have to land wings or
Yes.
lifeguard or whatever, how will all that work?
And we'll have to change some procedural stuff on how that works, when this is implemented, just like we would with any other product that we would implement in the field. The DMR, we'll have to kind of break down what this does. The initial radio system we bought, which is analog, fixes our coverage issue, but we still have a connectivity issue. We have 3 independent sites. This DMR ties that all together. The DMR radios that will be on that system that's tied together for the sheriff's office and EMS and the rescue squads, those units can switch to fire if they need to. All traffic coming from an aeromedical helicopter in this region will have to be on the fire channel once this is implemented. We'll have to implement new policy on doing that. And the reason being is the radio inside the aircraft is not capable of DMR. So all that traffic, instead of now, part of the time that traffic's on EMS, part of the time that traffic's on fire, that will all have to be moved to fire, which will actually improve that. Instead of having to try to figure out which frequency after their own, you'll know that they're on fire.
So if they're gonna land wings, just saying, I assume if they can't land on site, they're gonna have to go somewhere and land. So how are they gonna communicate to the pilot?
What I would propose if I was making that proposal or that policy is I propose it says that aircraft comes off the ground to make contact on fire frequency with whatever agency was commanding that LZ. At that point, the pilot would make contact with the ground crew. They would communicate any scene hazards that EMS will also have to switch to that frequency to give a brief patient report. And then the helicopter would land. Fire commander would advise that the aircraft is on the ground safe, and then they would also advise when the aircraft departed.
So
It's the same
EMS
procedure.
had to leave the scene and go find a spot to land the helicopter off them?
No, as far as radio policy, as far as radio procedure, that'll change none. That'll happen just like it does today. EMS will determine if they need an aircraft, they'll advise 911 they need an aircraft, 911 will send out to the appropriate agencies, which is typically fire and rescue, to find that LZ. They'll go out and scope out the area to find that LZ, communicate that back to 911, and once the aircraft launches, which is typically about 5 minutes from the time they get the call to get the aircraft, get spun up and going, they'll typically have that LZ already set up.
So when all this started, it started out that we needed towers. So while the towers is not up, is that correct?
We have access to 3 towers that we use today. When the $420,000 was initially approved, that was for an analog system. There's also some cost savings with going ahead and going to DMR, because we changed gears from going just strictly analog, straight to DMR. There's some savings in programming because we haven't got it deployed yet, different stuff like that. As far as our coverage from those 3 sites, it will be greatly enhanced from what it was in the past. I've got a coverage map here of what we anticipate. If it's probably hard to see, and it's on some handouts I give out. This is composite mobile inbound, and as you can see, the majority of Hawkins County is shaded. That's actually mobile radios in the field right now, and I'd venture to say that probably 50% of that, as far as area right now, doesn't have coverage with those mobiles. I did some testing. We've been able to deploy one antenna just to do some testing on short mountain on our sheriff's office channel. There's some areas across the mountain like Gravelly Valley and some of that area right near Hancock County that's never had good mobile coverage, and it's completely covered now with the mobile. You're obviously not gonna go there with portable and get coverage, just because the unit has less power. Our anticipated portable coverage is this map, and you can see there is some voids in that. But today, much of, probably half of that map doesn't have coverage on portable.
So, the guy that talked at the budget committee says Austin Jenkins with a lantern.
Yes.
He was telling us we might need 2 more towers. So I guess my question is, I mean, I'm for all this. I'm not for leaving the fire departments out, let's go ahead and tell you.
Yeah.
I'm totally against that, I'll tell you up front.
I'm not.
But if we have to buy 2 more towers, I'm assuming we're gonna have to buy land or lease land, whatever we're gonna do. And then get all this equipment, how are we gonna pay for that?
That's correct. Our sites right now, one we lease, one we own, and one is a joint venture with Homeland Security District. Every one of those sites is typically done differently depending on where they're at, who owns the property, if there's a ham site there. All of that would have to be determined. We would get ourselves in a mess and spend unnecessary money if we went out right now trying to project where those dead areas are gonna be. Like I said, we've got mobile coverage places now that we've never had it before, just with putting antennas and coax up. So we anticipate a lot of those areas that are dead right now will have coverage with what we're doing here. Will there be a possibility of other sites? Potentially, but we'll be at a place we've never been with these 3 sites connected since I've been public safety in the last 20 years, even without adding those sites. Land Air Communication is a competitor of Metro Communications, which was awarded the bid for our analog system. I asked Austin in the budget meeting, while he sat there answering the questions, what his opinion of the best system for this county would be. And his opinion is the DMR VHF. And that's a competitor for the company that was awarded the analog bid.
Well,
It's definitely a complex issue. I'm for funding the fire department radios. It's just a budgetary restrictions why we're not able to get that funding.
This is gonna be my 3rd radio upgrade since I've been a commissioner. And I'll just be honest with you, leaving the fire departments out, I really disagree with that. Cause I mean, I think they're at least have something, but I'm just being honest as I can be. The way I'm looking at this right now, by leaving the fire departments out, we're high-fasing something else for the county, and I don't think it's right.
I'm willing to include them if we come up with the funding to do it. We'd just be creating a disaster if we took away.
Well, if we don't have the funding, why can't we just allot this money for radios and wait till we get all the money to give everybody a radio? If that's the case. Because I mean, I've heard from day one when this started, I hear people saying, talking about their lives, they're gonna sue the county, they blame county commissioner. And then, I mean, here, we're gonna sit here and high-fice this again, as far as I'm concerned, we're high-ficing, and I don't think it's right.
My opinion of that is, as far as why we wouldn't delay that project, these electronics are hard enough to get at the moment. The reason I feel like we shouldn't delay that project is if we can get those radios in the hands of the sheriff's deputies one day in advance, that may, the next day might be the big one. We don't know that.
You don't have the towers up, so I mean, they already got radios now.
I wouldn't want the radios to be in a closet and then in another situation like volunteer. That's just my opinion.
Well, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I mean, we need to go ahead and do this right this time, so it ain't gonna affect the taxpayers in the long run.
I can start the process with this initial $509,000 to get the DMR implemented. It won't change the second phase of this any. We'll get the sheriff's office stuff online, EMS and rescue, without causing any problem on the second phase. Second phase will be analog. They'll change the deployment of that phase 9. I'm willing to take any questions, and I've told everybody they're welcome to come to my office. We spent thousands of hours on this project. I checked before I came over here, about 1,000 inbound emails just on this project, so we put a lot of time into this, and it'll take hours to explain it all.
Well, see, that's something else I don't understand. You spent 1,000 hours on this project, but you ain't even got us a quote with these radios. It's funny how you come up with the exact amount for what the money we have for these radios. It's this county odd to me that you have come up with the exact amount.
I said we had an estimate.
I know what you're saying, but I mean, all these hours you put into this, you should have done had a quote, cause you know he's gonna buy them anyway.
I'm not going to jail. If it's over $10,000, it has to be a big project. I'll get you an estimate, but that's not what it's gonna be. This is-
I
this will
think
be a
it ought to be added in
Let's
this,
just don't get personal about everything, okay?
I think it ought to be added in this resolution that this quote needs to come through county commission before we approve them buying these radios. Cause I mean, we're just giving a blank check and we don't even, it's same as the towers. We ain't had an update until somebody puts their foot to the ground to tell us.
Are you putting that in form of amendment, Mr. Harrell?
Yes, I think we ought to at least have a quote,
Can you repeat that, please?
that they should bring a bid for the radios to county commission.
EMA?
Before, yes,
EMA.
EMA or whoever's gonna do it.
Bid the quotes, two different things.
Well, bidding, how about that? Let's say quote / bid, and that way if you wanna change it, you can.
Should bring the quote.
/ bid to county commission.
On that amendment, is there some way we can change, vote that on the board and answer, is that gonna have to be?
I've got a quote right in front of me, if anybody wants to see it.
Is there-
That backs up everything that I've seen.
Before we go any further, is there a second to the amendment?
We need him to push his, button
Need who?
to amend it.
On what? What is that?
Is that paperwork he's asking?
That's a quote, but we can't purchase off of that, do purchasing
It's gonna
regulation.
be, gotta be.
You have to bid it because it's over $10,000. When you bid it, those vendors are gonna be competing against one another. Once they're competing against one another, that price may be potentially lower than what it is there. Because they know that competition.
Now repeat this amendment, please.
Yeah.
EMA should bring the quote / bid to county commission before the purchase of DMR radios. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there,
You can't do a bid. You get a quote, you get a quote, and then, once you get the quote, then you send the bids out. So you can't have a bid and a quote at the same time.
is there a second to the amendment, Don?
We can't do that amendment.
Take
so
take the quote out,
That's
just put,
impossible.
just take the quote out when he gets the bids, see the
Okay. Should bring the bid to county commission before the
say
purchase.
bids.
Should be quote.
Already got it.
So you want him to go ahead and put it out for bid? Is that what you're saying?
Ain't costing nothing to put it out for bids, so yes.
Should bring the bids to county commission before the purchase of DMR radio system, radios.
Rick,
Is
yes,
that correct?
yes.
I wouldn't say that it doesn't cost us anything, and this is the reason competitive bids are the lower prices. If you have companies that bid on things over and over again, they quit competing with one another because they get tired of basically bidding for no reason, which potentially drives your cost up.
So we have a motion to amend and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion on the amendment?
Can you, let everyone else speak before we vote on these amendments?
Do they want to speak on the
The
amendment?
other commissioners too, and to speak before any vote's taken. I think they should.
We gotta take care of the amendment. If they want to speak on the amendment, yes. But we gotta take care of this amendment because it's not happening yet, okay? We just gotta take it and vote it up or down. So, does anybody wish to speak on the amendment? If not, cast your vote.
11 yes, 8 no, 2 absent.
Okay, we're gonna go back to the resolution as amended. We have discussion on that. I think, Mr. Talley, you was next on the board. Did you still wish to speak? Mr. Darrell covered most everything that I, had. What is it gonna cost to add the fire department? You probably said it and I missed it.
If it was within what these phases are, and if the projections were what that quote is, $276, or $276,282.71.
So we could put the fire departments in communication with the rest for less than 300,000.
You could buy them radios.
Yeah. So we spend $1 million on football fields. But we don't have the money to save somebody's life possible. I mean, I think our priorities are wrong.
I agree with you. I propose passing this whole sheet of paper both phases, but I don't have the funding to do that.
Mr. DeWitt?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Several things. The ad hoc committee, is recommending that you take that state money and put it toward radios. We're not saying we're gonna cut the fire departments out, any of that kind of stuff. At the budget committee meeting, it was brought up that it would be a good idea, and Commissioner Carell, I think you had the idea to give 2 radios to each fire department to get everybody started. Well, that's 9 fire departments times 2 radios is 18 radios to get them started, which is less than, according to your estimates there, your quote, which is less than $18,000. And if we can't find $18,000 in the general fund, the fire department started on the radios, that's a sin. It's there. We can change it. The other thing is, and I think everybody's aware now of the figure, the ad hoc committee was, dividing up 11 plus or minus $1 million. And we did not think that there was gonna be a whole lot of money to go back to the general fund from that $11 million. Well, right now, we know for sure that there will be $3.4 million coming back from that 11 million to the general fund. Undesignated, we can spend it on anything. And we've talked about turnout gear for fire departments, we can add radios for fire departments, we can have a lot of things out of that. And, I'm speaking just on my own, not part of it. I am chairman of the ad hoc committee now, but I'm speaking this in my own thoughts, is that, we need to use that $3.4 million for non-recurring things and things that improve the county. And I'm gonna borrow Nancy Barker's phrase, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So this is one bite. We know there's gonna be more, but this is simply allocating that money toward the purchase, making us DMR capable. And we even talked about the budget committee meeting, if the bids come in lower, we can add a few more radios to it and stay under that amount. So it's a fluid thing, it's a necessary thing. We've talked about radios on, and I'm gonna say for one more time that if somebody, it's a widely known fact that this radio system is not working correctly. If somebody gets hurt, somebody gets killed, the county is subject to opening themselves up to a lot of potential lawsuits. We need to take a step forward. We need to make sure that we're doing what needs to be done for Hawkins County. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Mr. Fields?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Churchill, Mount Carmel, Rogersville, and Seguinville cities, are we receiving any funding from any of the city agencies?
We are not at this time, Commissioner Fields. That was discussed, and they respond to a lot of county emergencies as well. So it's not just for their benefit. It's for the county's benefit of having the assistance from these cities. Now, these cities will get some COVID funds, and there's nothing that says you can't go to the city and say, we need to point part of that toward these radios. It's just not been done yet. You know, I don't know, I'm on the Rogersville VMA too. I don't know what their intention is for that money. I would be happy to discuss that with the VMA as far as making a Rogersville contribution to this. But I don't think it's something that we have to worry about right now in order to move this forward.
If any of those agencies chooses not to do these radios, regardless of who funds the radios, that can create an interoperability issue in the county that's huge. One police department decides to go after their own radio system, you're out of communication with them. We use them for a resource a lot.
I think maybe Jamie might have answered the question earlier, but I know Mr. Wick did, about the ad hoc money that we're receiving. We've not received any at this point in time, right?
My understanding, the state money is there.
There's part of both of them there. They're releasing it, what they're calling tranches. We'll get the whole thing eventually. There is money. I wish Eric was here to tell you exactly how much.
All the state money is there and half of the federal money.
There you go.
I mean, I'm for the radio 100%. It's just that I don't like leaving the fire departments out.
Neither do I.
Another thing is, I know you said phase 1, phase 2, this is phase 1. Well, I'd like to have a pretty close estimate as to when phase 2 is gonna come along.
Yeah. So, yeah, funding's the only thing holding us back from bidding. On both phases right now, also holding us back on the bids, but
Mr. Roach?
So, a couple of things. First off, if you all remember, the governor had promised us, it was like 1.2 or 1.4 million dollars in COVID money, and he promised that without the General Assembly ever really approving that. So the reason we have this money right now is because the budget sub-chair, who's Gary Hicks, he's our representative obviously, he went and did a lot of working with the governor's office to help get the total amount down, but to get it unrestricted. So we didn't get as much as we originally promised, but he was able to work out a deal where it was unrestricted, which is why we can use it for these radios right now. So I appreciate Representative Hicks for doing that. That's the first piece. Secondly, y'all, I've been on this commission since January, and I'm not elected, I'm appointed. I know that. First off, I want to say nobody's leaving anybody out. Nobody's talking about leaving the fire department out. What we're talking about is trying to get as many of these radios in the hands of our first responders as we can right now with the money that we've been given. We've got a sheriff's department that carries firearms out to hot situations every single day. It seems like here lately, their hot calls are going up and up and up. And when I went and looked, I met with the sheriff's department when Lane Campbell was still there. He told me that the radios that are in those cruisers right now are industry standard radios. They're not even safety standard radios. They're the type of radios you use at a factory. Because the technology is so outdated that you can't buy a safety level radio to go in those cruisers anymore. They're having to patch them together and duct tape them together, metaphorically, to keep them running. So I'm all for it. Listen, I want fire departments to have every radio we can get them. I want rescue squad to have every radio we can get them. But I want it to happen yesterday. We've got the money, and I'm speaking in favor of this resolution today. And you know, I didn't support the amendment, but I understand the amendment. I'm okay with that. But I want it to be known that the commission today, we've said it numerous times. I believe Dawson, Commissioner Fields made this point. Tell us what to do and we will do it. All we can do is fund. We can't build towers, we can't buy radios, we can fund projects. And today this project it's time to fund it. And I want our cruisers and our police officers and all of our first responders to be equipped. But you know, I worry about these deputies. I worry about these folks going into these houses. There was a situation where we supported someone who was locked up in a house with a firearm in Hancock County not too long ago. Y'all didn't know whether he was going to shoot at you or not. But you had a TAC team out there ready to go. And in Hancock County, I don't know how well y'all can communicate, but had it gone south, I don't know that you'd have been able to get other support given the radio system we got. I don't know that. I'm conjecturing here a little bit, but I want y'all to know we talk about this. We've talked this situation to death. It's time to do something. I support this resolution. I'm ready to move on with it.
Me too.
Mr. Burks?
Tammy, I just got two questions. The bid that Commissioner Farrell referred to, what would be the lead time on getting that back?
But that goes through a whole process at the mayor's office, and anytime that exceeds $10,000 and it's not already been bid, it goes into a process. I turn in my part to Eric and the finance people, and then the girls in the back start each little part of that they work on. Then they open that up for bid. It has to be advertised for so many days, which that's not my job, so I don't know the requirements on all of that. So as far as time, I wouldn't be able to give you an estimate on that. My part, we could probably have it done within a week, but as far as getting bid, it would be probably over a month. Just by the time it processed through all the channels. Unless you're in that mayor's office and see how that process works, that's very time consuming.
Okay. The second question I've got, if we had everything ready to go, everything approved, you had to go ahead.
Yeah.
What would be the anticipated estimated lead time on this being a turnkey job being done with it?
I met with the vendor that one of the analog bid, which may be different for DMR because it'll go out to competitive bidding. But the vendor that got the analog side said the lead time for radios right now is 12 weeks. That could improve or that could get worse with COVID. We just don't know as far as electronics, how long that's going to take. When I started this project 2 years ago, that's what probably could have been here in 6 weeks. It's just with COVID and electronic shortages and the delays, it's ever changing now with COVID. There's casted connectors for inch and 5/8 coax right now. It's back ordered for like 3 months, so it's just hard to give an estimate on that. But the actual handheld units and the mobile units is about a 12-week lead time.
Okay, thank you, John.
Commissioner Rediger?
Whatever
I'm
your
sorry
Whatever
for
your
butchering
name
your name, man. I better just say.
Think about fine wine.
I want to recognize two people to speak and give their opinion on this resolution. I'm 100% in support of it, but I want to make sure that I understand where the fire department stand and where the sheriff's department stands on this. So I do want to recognize Sheriff Lawson, and I also want to recognize Fire Chief Stacy Vaughn and give his opinion on as a fire chief on this. Either way,
I'm here representing the sheriff today, guys.
will you give him permission to represent his fire department, please, since I don't think there's any of their Curtis, I see you back there.
Well, long before you all were commissioners, many years ago when I was patrolling for the city of Rogersville when the federal government stepped in, we didn't have any problem with radios. We had 2 channels. One channel car to car and the rest of it was talking in Warren County, and then we decided to cut the power back. So since then, it's not been worth nothing. But I know you know, by just seeing them reading the papers and everything we do, we're very busy agency. We're having between 3,400 and 3,500 calls a month. The sad part is officers on the lower end can't hear the officers on the upper end. The other sad part is the volume of calls that Director Campbell's getting at 911 is tremendous also. He's getting for all the agencies, all the fires and EMS. But what happens? And he can tell you they have multiple 911 calls at one time, correct? My officer, he or she might have one chance to call for help and all his dispatchers busy giving 911. If their brothers and sisters can't hear them call for help, they're gonna die because they don't, nobody else know it. The way I understand this, I can be corrected, this system is gonna be connectivity for officers from the lower end and the upper end. That's huge for officer safety. That's huge for your taxpayers' safety. That's what it's all about, us protecting and serving the taxpayers. And I grant you, I've been in this law enforcement for a long, long time. They don't make a radio to cover all Hawkins County. They're gonna be dead spots regardless. But it's a sad day. I listen to radio about 75% of the time in my administration. Each one of us always listen. Mount Carmel and Church Hill officers, they're on a traffic stop, and all we hear is dispatch. If they get in trouble, if my people ain't close to them, they don't have any backup either. Same way with my officers across the mountain. It's like Commissioner Rose talking about the tactical situation in Hancock County. Somebody died in that incident. Thank good Lord above it wasn't an officer or first responder. And all of us, first responders, we're on the same team. We take care of each other. Our whole being to protect and serve you all and the general public. I'm not a radio expert. If my officers in Mooresburg can't hear the people in Rogersville or Scorn or Churchill, Mount Carmel, how are they gonna help if it's vice versa? It's about officer safety, it's about safety of the public. We can't help them. What we got now is not working, hasn't the last 2 or 3 years. As mentioned before, we kick the can down the road. I don't want to bury one of my officers, and I know these other agencies don't want to bury one of theirs just because we have. There's no perfect solution. We got to do something soon. When they need help, they need to get it. Somebody needs to hear them. It saves our lives, first responders' lives, your lives, and citizens. We need to see if we can't make this radio system work, so we can play tennis with it. That's what it's about. 3,500 calls, just think about that. We got 500 square miles to come. Plus, Travis can tell you, he's here, we back up the cities. Every one of the cities, officers back them up. It's a team effort. We gotta be able to hear each other. You gotta know when one's in trouble. When they be at your house, they're in trouble, and they can't call back for help for you all, or the officer, or the fireman, or the EMS rescue.
I just want to say I agree with everything Ronnie said. Radio system needs to be repaired, fixed where we've got some communication between each other. We got a fire call last week to assist Clinch Valley on a call. Clinch Valley can't get out on the radios over there. We couldn't talk back and forth to them on our way over to them. So I'm chief of Lakeview Fire Department. You know where we're located. We have to cross 2 mountains to get to Clinch Valley. We had no communication all the way over there till we got to them. Then when we get to them, we can change channels and talk back and forth. But Central Dispatch can't talk to Clinch Valley most of the time. If we go to Mooresburg, into Cherokee, gated community, once we go through the gate and cross the backside of the mountain, we have no radio communication whatsoever. Our radios are dead on the other side of the mountain. EMS radios are dead on the backside of the mountain. Our members, we get a call, we don't know what we're going on. We can run up on somebody that's standing there with a gun. We don't have any way of protecting ourselves except with a radio. Sheriff's Department usually knows what they're going on. We get calls all the time. Our department alone, I mean, Mark said they had 9 departments. We've got 8 volunteer fire departments in Hawkins County, 4 municipalities, and a hazmat. So that's 13 departments in the county. If we can't communicate back and forth with each other, I don't know what we're gonna do.
So I think my direct question for you is, I don't think anybody, questions the fact that nobody can talk to anybody as is. I think we all understand that, and I think we all understand the gravity of that situation. My question, I guess, more is, if the fire departments are not included right now, if that's a phase 2, if you will, how much does that affect you? Or since the fire radio system is really not changing, will it affect you at all?
What we will have to do, if we're needing EMS, rescue, or sheriff's department to come to one of our calls, if they're not there, we will have to contact dispatch. Dispatch will have to contact them. We won't be able to talk directly with them on our radios. Once they're notified, they can switch their radio back to analog and talk to us. But just to pick up a radio and call them, we can't do that. So, I brought it up in the budget meeting the other day that we set up LZs for all the helicopters. We talk back and forth to them. EMS won't even be able to talk to them then, so it'll help some. I hope I help a whole lot, but it is going to create some issues until we get everything worked out.
So if there are 2 radios per fire department, will that suffice for now? Or how do you divide those up? I know.
No, not really, no. Because it depends on who has the radios. The way the volunteer departments are, I'm retired, I'm there 95% of the time, but I've got people who works all different shifts. And
So 2 radios per department really won't do anything anyway?
not really. I mean, our department is a small department, but we've already had 204 calls this year. I don't know how many of the other departments in the county have had, but for the lower end of the county, that's a lot of calls. And we never know, we got a call today, an unknown fire. They gave us an address, but until we get there, we don't know what we're going up on. That's the kind of things that fire departments have to go through.
Thank you.
Commissioner Barber?
Well, guys, this money that we're getting right now is a once in a lifetime amount that we're gonna get. And if we don't use it, and we don't use it effectively, we're gonna lose it. And the thing about this is too, I mean, I've been on this commission for 8 years. We've been kicking this stuff down the road ever since I've been on it. Trying to fix it. If we don't ever start somewhere, we're never gonna get anything done. And I think we need to go ahead and move forward with this. And then I think while we're moving forward with this, nothing says that we can't be working to get the fire department and everybody else what they need. It's not like we're gonna take phase 1 and then say, well, we'll see in 10 years on phase 2. Because we want the fire department to be just as equipped as we do everybody else. And we're gonna help any way that we can. And, but if we don't start somewhere, and we don't get something going, we've already wasted, I know, 3 years this year, fussing and arguing over it. So why don't we go ahead and do what we can do, and get what we can get done in phase 1? And, we don't know, they're pulling out COVID money all the time. We might be able to get another pot of COVID money that we can go ahead and do the rest of, to get the tower up, or to get the radios if they need. And so, I think we need to move forward with this, and instead of just sitting and we're gonna wait another month if we don't do something tonight, and then we come back in here and go in the same situation, we're gonna be waiting, and then we're in another new year. So I think you need to move forward, and we can save, if we save one life, we save one life.
Commissioner Alves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Commissioner Barker. She's on the ad hoc committee, Commissioner DeWitt and myself. I think we're all in agreement to, October the 5th at 6 p.m. I think we can make it right on the radios. We have, I think, $3.4 million that we can work with in the general fund on this, so.
Can I add just to that real quick?
Yes, sir.
That's 3.4 million for 2020. There's gonna be 3 years worth of possible loss of revenue. So that's, it works on a calendar year. The 3.4 is for 2020. The end of 2021, we'll revisit the loss of revenue for the county. We expect to have more, you know, like Commissioner Barker said, who knows about COVID money. But, you know, we'll have more unrestricted money moved to the general fund than the 3.4. I just wanted to make that point.
Thank you. We can make this right at our October the 5th ad hoc committee meeting if Director Miller will have us paperwork to go on, and we can take it from there.
And just a point of clarity, on the fire side, there's 4 brand new repeaters and that initial money going on each side, and one of those is for fire. So their coverage is going to greatly improve. Obviously, they need those units in the field, but there is progression on improving their system already.
I understand, Commissioner Goins, your button's not working and you wish to speak. I recognize you.
I call for question.
We do need to recognize everybody else that's on the board.
Question's been called, man.
Okay.
Question's been called, you gotta vote on it.
I was gonna do it anyway.
All right. Question's been called. No further discussions. We're gonna vote
As
on the
amended.
resolution as amended, and would the clerk reread that amendment so that we know what the amendment says that was added to the resolution?
The amendment states EMA should bring the bids to county commission before the purchase of DMR radios. That motion was by Commissioner Harrell, second by Commissioner Talley.
Okay. Everyone cast your vote on the resolution as amended.
Fourteen yes, 5 no, 2 absent.